Everybody, hope everybody's doing well. In this episode, we're going to show you the final wiring of the motorized tuning, and then we're going to start working on the chassis. So not a lot to cover, but enough information that I can share with you. All right, hope everybody's doing well. Enjoy. Okay, as promised, I'm going to show you how I install these lugs on here. This is the last one I have to do, so I'm going to show you how I go through it. So, of course, the lug has been cleaned, okay? So I'm going to put a little bit of solder on it, just on the top, just enough to form a little bit of a ball, like that. Then we're going to take our connector, like this one, and we want to fit it right over. And I put the flat part towards the outside on both of these, okay? So we're going to turn this around. Okay, we have it in focus. There's our lug. I'm going to take a little bit of some Kester low solid, no clean, liquid flux, and put just a tiny little bit in that hole. Just a little bit, that's all you need. I'm going to take my soldering iron, and we're going to flow solder into that little weep hole. Like so. Don't worry if this thing spins, because this thing is made to move anyway. So we're going to let that cool off. Once it cools off, we're going to clean it with a little bit of alcohol. And make sure it's solid. Oh yeah, that's solid. Okay. I have the other side done. Now when I go to wire this last one, I'll come back and show you how I do that. But essentially what I'm doing is bending these over in half, like this, and then threading the stranded wire through it, and then crimping it, and then soldering it, and we should be good. So I'll come back when we're ready to do that. Okay, we're going to solder the wire here. I've checked my map, and I know which wire belongs here. So I've stripped the wire, like so. I'm going to put a little piece of heat shrink on this because it is cloth wire. I don't want it to fray. So we'll do that first. Okay. Now, of course, I've measured the wire to make sure I've got enough that'll take this all the way to the end, which we do. So, next step is we're going to bend this thing. I'm going to bend this post in half. Very carefully. Not going to muscle it. We don't want it to break. I'm just going to go very carefully. Just like that. Okay? We're going to take our wire. We're going to create a bit of a strain relief here because we don't want this to break when you move it. Okay, we've got that secure. Now we're just going to flow some solder on that thing. Make sure it's nice and secure. Now, when you heat this thing up, this post that we soldered on probably will move. As long as you don't disturb it that much, you'll be fine. It'll reattach itself. That's why I didn't want to use the washers. My original idea was for that reason, because I knew once I started soldering, we'd have a problem. I'm going to let that cool off. Take our alcohol, clean it up. And that's very secure. That's not going anywhere. So I'm going to do these last three, and all I'm really doing is just checking continuity to this plate for the remaining wires that I have, which are right here, figuring out which one goes where. So I'll be back. So here's an update on our tuner. It's all together. We've We've got everything in there but the dial glass, and the pointer, obviously. We've got some light bulbs that have to get put in there when we mount it back in the chassis. But you can see, here's our push buttons right here, hanging out the front. You can see we've got our wiring done. And we've got a couple of other things. This goes to the light bulb here, which is how you do the presets. I'm going to replace that wire. And I've got some rubber caps that I'm going to be putting on top of these just to protect it. And when it's time to do the preset setting, you can simply add a clip to these barrels, these copper barrels. So we'll get into more detail when that's all done. But you can see this is pretty much it. It's all ready to go back in the radio for the most part. Need to replace those wires as well. We'll do that when we remount it. So now we're really going to go on to the chassis. So this was a lot of fun. And by the way, Bill, the dial string, really simple on this one. So I think if I turn this, you'd be able to see this move. Let's get in there. Okay. Nice and smooth. Just turning our little motor here. So all that works. Dial string is actually really simple on this one. Alright, so now we're going to focus on the chassis. So we're going to put this aside in a safe place, and we're going to get going with that. Alright, here we are taking a look at our chassis, and you can see how bad this thing is. I did a little bit of a test here. I cleaned it with some simple green, this stuff, and it cleaned it up pretty nicely. It's got a nice little shine on it. So my plan is going to be to clean this thing off as much as I can, and then I'm going to use some of this Mother's Mag and aluminum polish and try to get the chassis as clean as I can. That's funny, I saw a video yesterday from John from Arkansas where he washed his chassis with a hose and some lime away, and never thought about doing that, and he sent me a video this morning. Some guy power washed his old stereo and it worked. I don't know if I want to risk it on this one, so I'm going to go with the simple clean method on this thing. Obviously I'm going to have to remove this and restuff it, remove that and restuff it, paint the transformer. Transformer's got a little bit of rust, so we're going to need some naval jelly on there and clean that up. Of course we'll shine up our cans and these tube shields. We'll see what we can do with those. A little bit of surface rust on those as well. So we're going to spend some time scrubbing and cleaning this thing. So really nothing to show you. I'm not going to take you through that process. What we'll do is once this thing is clean, we'll come back and then we'll talk about how we're going to restuff the cans and how we're going to remove the capacitors underneath and restuff them and put them back in. I also need to fix this bulb socket. There's two of them for the dial. There's one right here, and they have rubber around them to insulate them from the piece that they slide into. So I'm going to need to replace these as well. Sorry about the focus. So this will be a relatively short video, but we're gonna get this chassis back where it needs to be. Next video you'll see this thing probably be cleaned up. So I'm going to get working on that. Alright, what else do I have to show you? The other thing I want to show you is the faceplate. So I've removed it. This is the inside, obviously. And a couple of things I've noticed. So the lens is riveted in. You'll see there's a little tiny rivet down there. Let's see if we can get some focus. Probably not. And there's another little rivet up on top here. Very hard to see. You can probably see the top of it there. Aside from that, this is fairly thin metal. Really nothing much to it. I do notice that there's a little bit of a bend right here on that hole. So I will try to straighten that out best I can. But I'm not going to polish this thing. That's the worst thing you could do. You want to keep the patina on it. So this will be also part of our restore, replacing that lens and getting those rivets out. So you could probably see it right there if it focuses. I doubt it. I got to work on this camera. But that's what the inside of that looks like. All right. We'll see you in the next episode.